Hello everyone, welcome to SplitSecond. My name is Sequeira and I will be narrating today. Before starting, I'd like to share with everyone that you can support us by liking this video or subscribing to our channel. You can also help us grow by going over to our newly opened Patreon. Check the link below for more information. Most of all, just remember that all feedback and support will help us grow and provide you with better content each week. Today I'm joined by David Lopes, Baal, and Luis Eduardo is returning for more fun and EDH. Our commanders are me piloting Yidris with my own Storm Brew, Luis Eduardo with his brew of Naru Meha combo, David Lopes piloting my brew of Ruric Thar, and Baal with his Darien aggro brew. This means we have 2 combo-oriented decks and 2 anti-combo/aggro decks. For our starting hands we have Luis Eduardo starting with 1 free mulligan. He has mostly card draw and card selection in the shape of Sensei's Dividing Top, Factor Fiction and Dig Through Time, plus 3 basic islands and a sun-scorched desert, which is a win-con payoff. He will have to look for either a path to win or some interaction, and fast. David has a lot of ramp in the shape of Bloom Tender, Priest of Titania, and Shaman of Forgotten Ways, which could possibly represent a turn 4 Ruric Thar. He also has a couple of fetches, Scalding Tarn and Verdant Catacombs. He can get a Stranglehold up on turn 3 if he suspects shenanigans. Finally has a Yoku Hopes, but with no discernible payoff. Baal kept his first hand, which has preemptive hate in the shape of Grafdigger's Cage and interaction thanks to Grasp of Fate. He also has 3 lands, Nomad Stadium, Plains, and a Cavern of Souls. You can also search his deck for more lands thanks to land tax. Finally, he has a mirror entity to wrap the game if his board grows, but right now he doesn't have a lot of ways to build up his aggro strategy. My hand is similar to Eduardo's but in 4 colors. I have card draw from Ancestral Vision, which isn't ideal in my starting hand, Manifold Insights, and Dig Through Time. Seating Song could help me rush a big card or storm later on. Finally, I have 2 basic lands, Island and Forest, and a Stomping Ground. I am missing black mana, however, and my biggest concern is not having anything to deal with Ruric Thar in a pinch. Let's watch how things play out. Eduardo starts the game by playing an island. He then pops in a Sensei's Divining Top to entertain his mana. He passes. David plays his Scalding Tarn. He thinks for a second and then cracks it for a Taiga, losing 1 life in the process. He passes to Baal. Could he have a tutor in his hand? Baal starts his turn by putting his planes into play. Then he casts a land tax. Was he being greedy with his keep? I don't think anyone will skip land drops to find out. I start by playing an island to discourage any Blood Moon enthusiasts. Afterward, I decide to cast Ancestral Vision since I had no way in my hand to reshuffle it. I pass. Before his draw, Eduardo uses the top to check his options. He plays an island and passes to David. David starts his turn by playing Verdant Catacombs and cracking it for a forest, making me a bit nervous about moon effects. Call it PTSD. He then plays Priest of Titania before passing. On his upkeep, Baal merrily takes 3 planes out of his deck. He plays Cavern of Souls, naming Soldier. He mentions to us that he played it like that because he was also afraid of moon effects. Then he taps his planes for a Weather Wayfarer and the Cavern for a Grafdigger's Cage. So far he seems to be leading the value race. On my upkeep, I remove a time counter from the Ancestral Vision. I play a basic forest greening toward David's Ruric Thar deck and pass. Eduardo chooses to use his top on his upkeep instead of my end step. We all wonder if he's saving up a 1 CMC counterspell. He plays a 3rd island and passes the turn. David plays a Windswept Heath. He taps lands to cast Bloom Tender, threatening Ruric Thar during the next turn, and then cracks the Windswept Heath for a Stomping Grounds, losing 3 life. He uses the Priest and his remaining land and casts Shaman of Forgotten Ways. We all reread the Shaman, count David's mana, and start thinking about how loaded his next turn could be. David though just passes, relaxed. Baal uses his land tax once again to take out 3 more planes from his library. He also uses his Weather Wayfarer before his draw to get him an Ancient Tomb. He taps Cavern of Souls for a Mana Vault, checking for how Eduardo reacts. We all pass priority. Baal plays his Nomad Stadium and passes. During his cleanup, he discards 3 playing cards. On my turn, I get 1 step closer to casting Ancestral Vision. After that, I put a Command Tower onto the battlefield and cast Manifold Insights to try and find something to either set me ahead or deal with the looming Ruric Thar. I reveal Blood Crypt, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Nauseous Revival, Fury Storm, Demonic Tutor, Wheel of Fate, Mana Crypt, Ralstorm Conduit, Deep Analysis, and Bolas' Citadel. Everyone is very excited to search for the worst cards they can give me. After some discussion, Eduardo, David and Baal settle for Wheel of Fate, Nauseous Revival and Deep Analysis. I put the rest in the bottom of my library and go to my end step. Eduardo activates the top. During my cleanup, I discard Wheel of Fate. Eduardo uses his first main phase to cast Gitaxian Probe with Phyrexian mana. He targets David and sees the dangerous combination of Worldly Tutor and Kiki-Jiki. He also sees a Stranglehold and a Yokul Hopes. Eduardo draws one card from the probe and puts yet another island onto the battlefield. David asks him if he doesn't want to play his commander, which Eduardo declines. He passes instead. We're all dreading the Ruric Thar turn, but we also realize David might not want to pit it against a potential counterspell. He decides to play Stranglehold instead. We all pass priority. Then David casts Birds of Paradise. He goes to combat, attacks Baal with his Shaman for 2 damage and passes. With his land tax shut down by Stranglehold, Baal draws a card and plays his Ancient Tomb. He then casts Darien using the Cavern of Souls and the Nomad Camp, which deals 1 damage to him. He attacks me with a Wayfarer and passes. On my turn, Ancestral Vision goes to its last time counter. I choose to play Baby Jace because Yidris would motivate David to cast Ruric Thar, and I wanted to be more set up towards winning. I put a Steam Vents into play tapped and pass the turn. During my end step, Eduardo casts Fact of Fiction. David responds by casting Worldly Tutor using his Bloom Tender. Eduardo decides to pay 2 life and cast a Mental Misstep, doing his best to stop David from going off. The Tutor gets countered, and we go to Eduardo's Fact of Fiction. He reveals Drift of Phantoms, High Tide, Anticipate, Misdirection, and a Snapcaster Mage. We analyze the pile, looking for the worst possible scenarios for him, but it's not an easy one. Snapcaster and High Tide need to be separate, but Drift of Phantasms also pairs up well with these cards. In the end, I choose to separate it into a Snapcaster plus Anticipate pile, and High Tide, Drift of Phantasms, and Misdirection. The main idea was to separate the card advantage from the resource advantage. Eduardo chooses the larger pile. Eduardo starts his turn by looking at the top 3 cards in his library. He plays Sun-Scorched Desert, pinging me for 1 damage and revealing he's fairly close to winning the game in the process. He casts Arcane Signet and passes to David with 2 untapped islands. David celebrates his draw by casting it immediately, a Destiny Spinner which protects his creatures from counterspells. Since it resolves, he wastes no time in following it up with Ruric Thar. With Ruric Thar on the stack, I decide to pay 2 life and cast Nauseous Revival targeting Luis's Mental Misstep. My idea is to reduce the potency of his misdirection, should he use it to steal my Ancestral Vision. Eduardo responds to that by exiling his graveyard and casting Dig Through Time. He finds 2 cards and David's Ruric Thar resolves. On David's end step, Baal taps his Ancient Tomb to take 2 damage and make 2 Soldier tokens with Darien. Baal gets to his turn. He takes 1 damage from Mana Vault and creates another Soldier token. He plays a Plains and uses it to cast Legion's Landing. Ruric Thar deals 6 damage to Baal, creating an additional 6 Soldier tokens, but forgets to create 1 Vampire token with lifelink and making us a bit nervous. Baal goes to combat. He swings Darien at me and 2 Soldier tokens plus Weather Wayfarer at Eduardo. Legion's Landing triggers transforming. Me and Eduardo each take 3 damage. Baal then passes to me, pretty satisfied. On my upkeep, I remove the last time counter from the Ancestral Vision and cast it. I take 6 damage from Ruric Thar and draw 3 cards. I put a tapped Stomping Ground onto the battlefield and decide to cast Yidris. I also consider relying on Jace to try and get me out of this horrible board state. I pass to Eduardo. Eduardo starts his turn by reading Ruric Thar a bunch of times and shaking his head in protest. Eventually, he just passes, vocally disagreeing with all that's taking place. David untaps and plays a Bloodstained Mire and goes to combat, all too eager to attack Eduardo for 8 damage with his Destiny Spinner and Ruric Thar. He passes to Baal afterwards. Before getting to his turn, Baal chooses to take 3 damage from his lands by tapping both Ancient Tomb and the Nomad Stadium. He makes an additional 3 Soldier tokens, 1 Vampire token with lifelink. On his turn, Baal takes 1 damage from the Mana Vault, triggering Darien. Then he uses the Cavern of Souls to cast an uncounterable mirror entity, making me and Eduardo sweat profusely when we realize just how much damage we're being threatened with. A whopping 75 damage. Baal goes to combat and I ask Eduardo if he's not secretly planning to cast High Tide for a Cyclonic Rift. Eduardo looks at the top 3 cards of his library and just replies, "Nope, we're dead meat." Time to clear the way. With 2 players gone, it's David's turn and things aren't looking great. David enters our Mitra club, that is, the illegal place we didn't notice, by using Bloodstained Mire to put a forest onto the battlefield. This play doesn't affect anything in the game, however, as you will see in a bit. David goes to combat and attacks Baal with Ruric Thar and Destiny Spinner. Baal chump blocks the Ruric Thar and triple blocks the Spinner, trading 2 soldiers. On his second main phase, David taps all his mana producing permanents to generate 11 mana. He uses it to cast Yoko Hulps, destroying all permanents in play except for the enchantments and taking 6 damage from his own Ruric Thar. Then he casts a Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker and passes. Baal starts his turn by playing one of the planes he still had from the land tags. He also passes. David draws, goes to combat and attacks with the Kiki-Jiki before passing. No land drops. Baal plays a second land and casts Pearl Medallion. Because he's an expert at having no permanents in play, Baal seems to be recovering nicely. David misses another land drop and attacks again before passing. Baal celebrates his next draw, dunking planes into play. He then casts the Elspeth Knight Errant. He produces a soldier token to chump block David's attacker and passes again. Things are looking dire for David now, even though he still manages to find a Cinderglade. He puts the land into play tapped and then attacks the Elspeth, getting blocked. He passes. Baal makes another soldier token and passes. It's starting to look like a cowboy showdown. David goes to his turn and attacks the Elspeth. Baal flashes an Alms Collector, taking down the Kiki-Jiki and David's Hope with it. As soon as David passes, Baal plays an Ajani Goldmane and David decides he can't possibly race, conceding the match. Baal wins this one. Thanks for following us through this match, everyone. I guess white is the best color right now, huh? We did have a rematch recorded, but one of our players broke the game so badly that not even a level 3 judge could fix it. If you want to go through other Commander adventures, click one of the videos on the right. If you want to talk with us about our games or other EDH related matters, join us on Discord, and don't forget to support us by subscribing, liking, or even becoming a patron. Join us again next week for a new set of Commanders and more decisive plays. See you then!